Everyone, and welcome to Afterthought, where we talk all things mental health and real life. Tonight we are talking about pandemic fatigue. How many of you have had enough of this pandemic? Tell me. I can't take it anymore. See, honestly, that's the real deal. I can't take it anymore. Someone needs to shut this down because I'm done with it. I don't know how many of you have had it up to here, but I have had it up to here. When you really sit back and think about it, we have been shouldering the effects of this pandemic situation for a little bit over 7 months now. That's more than half a year, and it's taking a toll on so many people. It's taking a toll on moms, it's taking a toll on dads, it's taking a toll on grandparents, on seniors, on people who live alone. It's taking a toll on people with children, it's taking a toll on people without children. It's taking a toll on the children. It's taking a toll on people with anxiety, with depression, with bipolar disorder, people who have all kinds of mental health issues. Hello guys, come on in, welcome. Let me know how you guys are managing with this pandemic stuff, because people have had it. Really, how am I coping? I'm just trying to put one foot in front of the other. But in putting one foot in front of the other and just doing what it is that I need to do, it prevents me from really taking stock of how I really feel about all of this. And when I stop to think about all of this, I have to realize that I am not doing as well as I think I am. And I'm a therapist, guys. Seriously. So if I'm struggling, what about everybody else? And I think that we really have to just be real with ourselves. We have to be real with ourselves about how things have been going over the past 7 months. You know, it has been since the 12th of March. I came home from work, 12th of March, 2020, when, if you know, I live in Ontario, Canada, and our premier, or for those of you in the States, kind of like our governor, he kind of said that, it was going to be, the next week was going to be March break. And he said, instead of 1 week, we're going to make it 3. And we're like, yeah, we kind of expected that. This COVID stuff was all over the news. People are trying to be safe. And then 3 weeks turned into indefinitely. And then we started homeschooling our children, and then it turned out that there was no end in sight for this thing. And then, school was over and it launched into summer, and, the restrictions kind of started to lift a little bit, and then the incidents went up, the cases went up, and now the restrictions are back. And, I had to sit down and realize, man, I am shouldering a lot. I feel like I am carrying a lot. Those of you who follow me here on a regular basis know that I have 2 little boys, and I have to carry their anxiety, their frustration. Their father is a part of the equation as well, and he also helps with that, but I shoulder most of it. I don't know if he's listening, but I shoulder most of it, right? I am mommy, and on top of that, I work with children in my therapy practice. So mommy kind of has all the answers when it comes to some of these things. Not really all the answers, but you know what I mean. And, when they are like worrying about, am I going to get it? Are you going to get it? Is someone going to get sick? Is Nana going to get it? Or when they're worried about, going back to school, or, is someone in my class going to get it? There's all these questions. Why can't I play with the other children in the other classes? It's not fair. And I feel like I have to absorb all of that and try to make, it becomes something that I begin to wear. It becomes something that I am having to make better, and I'm absorbing it all, and it's heavy. Let's see. Sherry says, is it wrong for me to want to continue working from home until next fall? No, it is not wrong. It is normal. It is normal for you to feel that way, because none of this that we're living in right now, none of this is normal. And they're expecting people to go back to work. And they're expecting people to go back to work when the incidence of COVID-19 community transmission is very high. I think over 700 people were diagnosed today alone. Marshalyn says it's rough. Sherilyn says, yes, as moms, we're shouldering 90%. Yes, we are. And I am seeing a lot of people coming into therapy, or people are asking my advice on different things, different talks and whatnot that I'm getting connected to. But people are asking, why is it that women specifically are feeling a lot about, they're feeling a lot of this. And I saw Black People duck in a little bit here. I'm not sure if you're still here. I don't know if you want to talk about the male perspective, but a lot of women are, if you are homeschooling, then you are teaching the children or ensuring that all of their technology is set up. You are having to work from home. If you happen to still have a job, you are working from home. You are giving the kids breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner. You are entertaining them probably when school is over. There's probably still laundry in the dryer from last week Friday, or the laundry hamper is overflowing, or the meals have to be made. It's exhausting, and you're carrying all of this mentally, and you still have to go to work and put a smile on your face like everything's great. Well, everything's not great. People's anxiety, it's ramping up because we don't know when this is going to end. I know teenagers who are telling me that their peers at school don't wear their mask, or they only wear it when the teacher's around, and so there's concern there's worry where in that area as well. I can't tell a 16-year-old that their anxiety is unfounded when 50% of the kids in their class won't wear their mask when they're walking to school, or when they're in the schoolyard, or whatever that looks like. It is really troubling. So I wanted to talk a little bit about isolation. If you are a single person, if you are the only person who lives in your home, if you are a senior, if you have retired, if your kids are up and gone, if you have, broken up with whoever for whatever reason, and you are by yourself, this is a very difficult season. I know a lot of single people who broke the Thanksgiving rules in Ontario and Canada. We just had Thanksgiving this past weekend, and or harvest weekend, this past long weekend, and the advice from the powers that be, from the politicians, from the senior healthcare leaders, were stay in your home. If you don't live in that address, you don't need to go anywhere for Thanksgiving. And I know a lot of single people who broke those rules because they need to be around other people. It is too much to ask, they have found, for you to say to them, don't connect with your family, stay away from people. It was just too much for people. People feel like they need to connect with others, and it's not normal for people to isolate on their own for such a long period of time. People who have chronic illness, they struggle because they cannot be around lots of other people because they have compromised immune system, and they can't even go to the grocery store. They're struggling with not connecting with people, and it's so hard. So I also want to talk a little bit about work from home. We'll get to unemployment in a minute, but for people who work on the computer or work on the phone, specifically people who work on the computer, I saw something the other day about someone was ranting about how they're in a work meeting and people have their cameras off, or they have a virtual background, and they should just cut it out and get with the program and turn their cameras on. And the one thing I want to say about that is the playing field is not equal. We're all in the same storm, but we're not all in the same boat, right? Some people have better living conditions than other people. Some people live in a home with like 2 different sets of families because it's an extended family situation and the home environment is very, very small. Some people have individuals living in their home with chronic health issues who are undergoing dialysis, who are recovering from cancer treatments. Not everyone's home is fit for, for everyone from the office to see. And so people will turn their cameras off. People will put up virtual backgrounds, and we have to be more mindful that other situations are different from ours. We really have to be mindful and a little bit more compassionate where that is concerned. Let's see. Also around that is technology and the internet. When schools were out, when schools were resuming, I should say, in the spring, a lot of school boards were handing out Chromebooks or tablets, because there are a lot of homes where maybe there was only one computer and 3 children, and all 3 of them need to learn through online sort of distance learning. Or the parents are working from home and one is on the tablet, one is on the computer, and we just can't, everyone in the home can't get a laptop or a Chromebook. It's just not fair. The other thing as well is that I find that the kids are trying to figure out how best to do the work at home. If everyone's at home, I know families where everyone's around the dining table trying to get the work done because it's the only real space that they have to do the work. A lot of people in different industries lost their jobs. Like, there were multiple industries that just completely folded because there just wasn't room. There's just not space for people to gain money. Restaurants are closing. Retail stores are closing. Hair salons are closing. Lots of places, they cannot afford to keep their doors open. They can't afford to pay the rent when people are not coming in to spend their money. People can't come in to spend their money because they're being told to social isolate or social distance. Other people have lost jobs, and so there's not enough money for them to go and spend it at the restaurant, or go and spend it at the nail salon, or go and spend it at the hair salon, and people's businesses are closing. There is not enough money to go around. People are trying to keep food on the table and take care of their family. And it's causing people to really worry. People are struggling to pay rent. People are struggling to pay their mortgages. People are struggling to make their car payment. And people are worried. People are worried, and we have been worried. And it's been 7.5 months, you guys. It's a long time to ask someone to live in a state of anxiety. I was in a session today with a client of mine, and we were talking about anxiety, and I was talking to her about being in a state of panic, and how, hey, Michelle, we were just talking about being in a state of panic, and how the body can't maintain a state of panic for too much of an extended period of time. So the anxiety rises and it eventually has to go away. Well, what is happening is that we are having to maintain this state of anxiety for a very, very long time. And it's not good for the stress hormones to be raging through our bodies for this length of time. 7 months, it's a really long time to live in uncertainty. And when we don't have concrete answers for things, then we make things up in our minds, and that's where the anxiety comes from, right? We make things up. Thank you. Think I look nice? Thank you. So let's talk about what my friend Kayla calls the mother load for the women who are on here, for the mothers who are on here. I know you already know what I mean when I say the mother load. I talked about that a couple minutes ago, but just the idea of having to shoulder, as Sherland said, 90% of the household responsibilities. So you are doing the laundry, you are making the meals, you are packing the backpacks, you are checking to see what clothes the children have grown out of, who needs new shoes, who needs to get a haircut, who needs to connect with which friend, who has done their homework, what's the notice that the teacher has sent home from school, who needs to go to the doctor's appointment, who needs a dentist. Like all of these things, most of these things the mothers are carrying for the most part. And I must admit that in my household, I have a partner who is right there with me for the most part. And he is willing to do the things, but I have to book the appointments and I have to give him the reminders. He's more than happy to take the kids to the dentist or to go to the doctor's appointment or do the things that need to get done. But I need to make the appointment. I need to write it down for him. I need to send him the reminders. Otherwise, he'll be like, oh, I totally forgot, right? And that is another thing that I have to carry in my mind. I have to remember. I have to remember when I'm packing the lunch that this one eats strawberries and that one doesn't. I have to remember. Yes, there is always, always, always things to be done. Hey, Jane, come on through. We're just talking about being tired and being overwhelmed and not seeing an end in sight. That is another thing that's keeping people down and frustrated and feeling really disappointed because, or really feeling really discouraged because they cannot see an end in sight. We're all hoping that this COVID mess is going to go away sometime soon, right? We're all saying things like this can't last forever and hopefully we'll get back to normal. But we don't know when, and that's the problem. Kelly says it feels like my brain is on overloaded all the time. Yes, and that's because it is. We are maintaining all these things, and for those of us who are in therapy, who are therapists rather, I can't even talk tonight. Those of us who are therapists, we are being present for our clients who we completely adore and we want the best for, and we're helping them hold the things. But when we get off from them, we are holding our own things, right? Those of you who are in therapy, don't feel bad. We don't feel bad for us. We have our own tribe and our own crew. Tamara says, I find it very hard to stay motivated. Completely. It is hard to stay motivated because, like I said, there's no end in sight. When is this going to be over? Nobody knows. So how do we manage? We have to connect with each other. And I know that we are all zoomed out. We are all, the technology, the FaceTime, the WhatsApp video calls. We're all done. We're overloaded and we're like, we've had enough. Hey, Nora, we feel like we've all had enough. But to be honest, the only way that we can maintain sanity is by doing things like this. Not everybody can do a live all the time, but connect with your people. There's a reason for the phrase divide and conquer, because when you split up a group of people or when you split up a team, they cannot connect with each other. They cannot talk to each other about how difficult it is. Think about it. When you are four Zoom meetings today, Jane, I totally hear you. I've been on the computer from morning all day. But when we connect with each other who have similar experiences, this is why group therapy works, right? When you have endured something difficult and you sit in a room full of people who have endured similar things, you're like, man, I experienced this today and boy, I can't carry it. I feel like I can't carry it. And another person says, you too? I felt that yesterday. And then you said, yeah, how did you get through it? Well, I tried this and I tried that. Or, man, I just cried through it because it was too much. And other people, it resonates with other people. We find strength in numbers. So I am going to encourage you to connect with your people. Find your friends. Find your family. My husband's, my in-laws, they get together by Zoom every Sunday afternoon and they just chat. They just shoot the breeze and they connect with each other. And it really helps everyone stay connected. I've been hearing lots of great things about people who are baking and cooking together, using Zoom as their platform to do that, right? Just using Zoom to share recipes, or mine didn't turn out like that. How did you do? Or I'm not adding peppers to mine. I can't have, really find a way to connect with each other. I know that we're all zoomed out, but if it means a Friday night with the girls and you one of you has chips and another one has guacamole and the other one has a glass of wine and the other one has a spiced, I don't know, hot chocolate or whatever, and you just talk about how it's going. You talk about the children and how you're glad they're in bed. You talk about how you fell off your diet one more time this week. You talk about how hard it is to quit smoking. You talk about the stuff. Listen, I have, I run supervision groups for other therapists. And when we get together, we talk about how it's hard. We talk about the cases. Some of my colleagues who are in the supervision group are still working for organizations, and they talk about how sometimes the managers don't get it. They talk about how they get support at work and how the job is hard, and we find support there. Let's see some of the chat. Jane says, I just eat one more cookie and more dairy milk chocolate. Listen, you gotta do what you gotta do. Lorraine says, I find it exhausting if the connection seems like a bitch session, for lack of a better term. It's true. If everyone is all, if everyone is venting, then it's probably not very helpful. But if we're finding ways to support each other, if we're sharing how we're managing, then that can be helpful. Sherilyn says there's an app called House Party that we use for games night. I like that. Kelly says it's challenging where management doesn't acknowledge COVID fatigue. Listen, when you're working for an organization, when the managers are like out to lunch and they're not recognizing that you're coming to work to support people and you also need support, it's really, really hard. Janice says wine health. Yes, it does. But, you know, and also in the middle of, how could I forget? In the middle of all of this COVID-19 brouhaha, we're all also having all this racial stuff that's happening, this racial upheaval. People are losing their lives. Black people are tired. Black Panther is dead. Like, we are all, and I don't mean to say that lightly, but we're feeling it. Right? And we're wearing it. Listen, I could carry a house on the back of my shoulders because I need a massage because life is rough. Right? And I can tell you about walking into spaces where, you know, the day after the Breonna Taylor grand jury ruling, where the police officers got off and only got charged for the bullets that hit a wall. Right? I was angry and very, very sad. And I had to walk into a meeting space where everyone was just like, oh, let's talk about the weather. Or, oh, let's talk about, you know, how we're managing stuff here in this space. And in my mind, I'm like, I can't be here right now because I cannot sit here and talk about gardening when I feel like my existence in North America in all of this is at risk, when I feel like I am wearing a lot of I'm carrying a lot of grief, right? And when you walk into spaces where that grief isn't acknowledged, it's hard, and it's an extra layer that you have to wear. Kelly, I know you support me. You're amazing. It's so great to have your advocacy and support. Hey B, come on through. But it's exhausting, guys. And then in the middle of that, right, there are people who are in abusive relationships, and they have to be in that home 24/7. For a lot of people, home has never been a safe space, or it hasn't been a safe space for a really long time. And then we take away places like work and school, where that used to be their reprieve. That used to be their safe space. And now they don't have that anymore. And people are struggling. If you are struggling with stuff like this, I encourage you, reach out for mental health support. Reach out for resources in the community. If these resources are beyond your financial capacity, send me a DM and I will try to help you find resources in the community that you can afford. I'm a therapist, but I'm a social worker first, and I'm all about the social justice life. Yes, Tamar, for a lot of children, home is not a safe space. I know children who have to be walking on eggshells because of the outrage that they face every single day, and it isn't fair, right? What can we do? What can we do in an age where we are having to stay home and we are feeling like we are overloaded and we can't take it anymore? Lorraine says the COVID 20 or 20 pounds is very real. The kitchen seems to be comforting. The kitchen seems to be conforming. Yes. Yes. It is very easy to lose yourself in a big chocolate cake. It is very easy to lose yourself in all the marshmallows and the cookie jar and the kids' candies and stuff like that. Those things are, they are very comforting. Yes, you're right, Lorraine. It is very comforting. But they're comforting to a point, right? You know, this might sound really cliche and it might seem like it's not real, but take yourself for a walk. If you can get up, and I know it's hard, believe me, because I'm not a morning person. Put that out there now. But if you can get up a half an hour before everybody else, put your runners on, put a sweater on, because, you know, fall has fallen around here, and go for a walk and just let your brain breathe. Listen to some music or listen for the birds. See what you can see in your neighborhood. Give yourself a minute to catch up with yourself before your workday starts, or even at nighttime before you go to bed. I would encourage all of you to do a body scan and happy endorphins. Yes, that's right. I would encourage all of you to do a body scan. And, you know, for those of you who don't know what that is, that's really just sitting in a quiet space and really just, you know, close your eyes and notice your body. Bring your attention to different areas of your body and see how they feel. Today, I sat down and I realized that my shoulder blades are hard as ever. That's again, I'm stressed out and I need a massage, right? But I have been so, hey Kate, I have been so on the go, one thing after the other, taking care of everybody, doing all the things, that I didn't even realize that I was feeling that way. Right now that I know, I'm gonna try to address it. Bianca says eating feelings and now Halloween, all the Halloween candy. So you have to be careful about that. Nora says, I agree. Exercise has kept me sane these last few months. Walking and free Zoom exercise classes. Yes, that's it. The good thing about this is that, hey, Lori, the good thing about this time is that everyone is doing everything online. And so there are a lot of things that were not accessible to people before that are now. So sometimes you might be able to find a live Instagram cardio class or, you know, a live, Zoom yoga session, you know, but there's also YouTube, you know, as my friend, I would say my friend, she's kind of my Instagram friend. I think we're friends in my head. Her name is Vivian K, and she likes to say that Google and YouTube are free 99, right? Those things are free. So you can look up the yoga, you can look up the meditation, you can look up the cardio, you can look up the weight training, but, you know, do some meditation. There is an amazing yoga practitioner here in Canada. Her name is Kumi J, and she is just absolutely amazing in the way that she practices. Lori says, I practice Kundalini yoga. It's amazing for my mental health. Bianca says, maybe try mindful eating to enjoy the treats. Do that too. Listen, not every exercise isn't everyone's thing, and eating candy isn't everyone's thing either. But I encourage you to find what works for you. You know, another person on Instagram who I believe, you know, we're friends in my head. Her name is Avery Francis. She runs an HR company called Bloom, and she made a post recently about for World Mental Health Day, and she talked about having a period in her life in 2016 where she, despite all of the therapy and all the exercise and all of the things, she couldn't pull herself out of a depression, and her mom suggested painting, and she went out and got some canvases and some paint and just lost herself in painting every single evening. and how that really helped her crawl out of a debilitating season of depression. So not everything is for everyone, and healing isn't linear, right? But I encourage you to find what it is that works for you, and don't let anyone stop you from accessing it. Janice says, running is my escape. Finding it very difficult to be motivated to get up in the mornings. It's true, but if you wait until you are motivated to do the thing, you'll never do the thing. It's like getting up to go to work, or getting up to do the work if you don't have to leave your home to go to work. How many days do you wake up feeling, oh, I'm so motivated for work today? We don't feel that, but we know that we need to. It's something that we commit to. So if you find that you are committing yourself to meditation, then find your calendar and cross off 10 days and see if you can do it 10 days in a row, right? Kate says painting is amazing. Lori says eat all of Fran Murray's sweets. Yes, for those of you on here who don't know Fran, get to know Fran Murray Co. And listen, she makes the most decadent desserts, and I am trying to stay away from sugar, but Fran isn't making it easy. But do what it is that you need to do. If it means that baking does it for you, then bake. If painting does it for you, then paint. If therapy does it for you, go see a therapist. There are at least 3 of us on here tonight. If I don't know what else, yoga does it for you, do the yoga. Meditation, walking, running, singing in the shower, sex with your partner, whatever it is that does it for you, find what it is and go after it, because this isn't wrapping up anytime soon. Lorraine says, I'm at level 3,678 on Pet Saga. And Sherilyn says, I bake and I eat. Listen, do what you gotta do. Try to keep yourself healthy, but do what you've got to do. There is just too much happening, and life is too short. Hey, Dr. Jess, we're just talking about this COVID fatigue. I was not hoping to keep you guys for so long, but I feel like this needs to be a longer conversation. That's a great idea, Bianca. See, it's good when I have other therapists on here. They catch the things that I don't catch. Bianca says, for those working from home, maybe use that commute time you used to have for yourself. What a fantastic idea. So that brings me to the other thing, the blurring of the boundaries. For those of you working from home, the commute is now roll out of bed and roll to the kitchen table. Open your computer and boom, I'm at work, right? It is ridiculous that we now have no boundaries with work and home. And I've talked about this on Afterthought before, just around working into the night, working till 10 o'clock, answering emails, working on that project. It's one thing if you have a tight deadline and you know that you're working late for 3 nights in a row, and then it's a hard stop, you put an end to it. But this 10 o'clock, 11:15, working every day, getting up at whatever time and sitting at your computer at 8:30 and you're not getting up until it's time to go to bed at, 12:30, that is unsustainable. You're going to drive yourself into the ground. You need to have some boundaries. There's an amazing communications expert. Her name is Rebecca Perrin. She has a wonderful podcast called, oh my goodness, I am drawing a blank right now. Women Talk Shop is what it's called. And she talks about ending your work day and going to change your clothes, right? Even if it means that you are wearing sweats at the computer working, go change your clothes. Go and change your clothes. Go for a walk. Shut the computer, right? It signifies to you, it sends a message, work is finished. Even if you know you're working till 6 o'clock or 6:30, but at 6:30, close the computer, put it away, and then go on to the rest of your evening. Whether that means making a meal or playing with the children or, going for a walk or whatever it is that you do in the evenings, do that. But you cannot be working around the clock. That doesn't make any sense. And you're going to drive to the ground. Lori says, book a session with you. Therapy with a psychotherapist is life-changing. Yes, I agree. It is. Let's see what else. I practiced a lot of self-care. Andrea says, I practiced a lot of self-care, but the loneliness is real living alone. Yes, I hear you. It is real 100%. I say connect with your people. Call them up, you know, so do a social distance visit. Maybe even meet at the park and just, you know, shoot the breeze. You can wear your masks if you need to, be away from each other. Listen, when they started to lift the restrictions, a friend of ours in the community, her daughter likes to bake, and they baked cookies and they dropped them off. And we stayed on the driveway, on our driveway, and they parked their car on the street, and their family came out of the car, and they just stood at the car and we stood on the driveway, and you would not believe the difference that it made just to see other people in the flesh. They didn't come into the house. We didn't hang out in the backyard. The kids didn't play together. We stayed over here and they stayed over there, but we were seeing each other in the flesh, and it made such a difference. And they brought us treats, and that made it special. I put on clothes in the morning and I change into my house clothes at 4:05. Listen, how many of you Jamaican people know about house clothes, right? You change when work is over. It sends a message that to the brain that we're transitioning. Lorraine says, I walk with a neighbor or friend really early almost every morning. I feel it's really therapeutic. Yes, it is really therapeutic to go out and get some fresh air, stretch your legs. It dispels some of that anxious energy. Hey, Natasha. Sherland says, myself and several friends 2 Sundays ago had a dessert brunch. Yes. Listen, Kayla says, hey, Kayla, I didn't realize you're on here. We got together with some entrepreneur friends today. Yay! It was amazing. I'm glad you did that, right? Even though we are living this pandemic life. Hey, Pat, we're just talking about COVID fatigue. Even though we are living in this pandemic life, let us find a way to connect with each other. Connect face to face if you can. Stay at a distance because numbers are rising, but keep your mask on if you need to. But connect with each other. Everyone bake something, and then you switch up and you share, right? And take stuff home. Take pictures to remind you of what the day was like. You can even do a clothing swap, right? Show up and do kind of like a tailgate. Open your trunk and this doesn't fit me anymore, and I'm a size 10 now when I used to be an 8. Well, that can fit me in that one. Find a way, right, to connect with each other. Let us get as creative as we can. Go for walks if you can. Exercise if you can. Connect at a distance. And listen, for those of you on here who are women, stop trying to be so strong. I'm going to say that again for those of you in the back. Stop trying to be so strong. You do not have to hold it in all the time. Let yourself exhale. It's okay to say, this is tough. This is hard, right? But let's build each other up while we're at it. Connect with your friends. Bring a joke. Bring a dessert. Kayla, she is an amazing art therapist, and she says also painting it out. So many big feelings happening, and art inherently validating. Yes, actually, Kayla, we were talking about, for those of you who don't know how to paint, it's okay. Dollar store sells some good canvases and some really cheap paint and some paintbrushes. Go to town, right? I allow my kid, I get little canvases for my kids as well. There's a really great YouTube channel called Art Hub for Kids. I think that's what it's called, Art Hub for Kids. And they teach children how to draw or paint in a couple of easy steps. And listen, I do not have a creative bone in my body, and my art expertise extends to stick figures. And so I get a canvas for myself. with the children and I paint with them. Sherilyn says, at Square One on the weekend, there was a Jamaica movie night in the parking lot. Listen, you couldn't tell me? Couldn't you let us girl know? There was a Jamaica movie night in the parking lot at Square One. You stay in your car and watch the movie plus DJs. Wow, you have all of the juice, Sherilyn. You know all the details. Natasha says, Trey Arts. Yes, Natasha, there is also a Black scientist, I believe he is, on YouTube. You talk about him sometimes. I can't remember his name. If you remember his name, put it on here. Hey, Nicole, we're just talking about sick and tired of this COVID stuff, and day through, we're just talking about getting creative with how we connect with people. We're just talking about connecting with people and recipe swapping, or cookie swapping, or do a clothing swap, or Charlene was just talking about the drive-in movie night at Square One on this past Sunday. For those of you not in Ontario, Square One is probably the largest mall, or one of the largest malls in Ontario. Yes, Sherilyn, you need to keep us in the loop. Let me know so I can put it in my stories for everyone to see. But we need to connect with each other. And oh, yes, thanks, Natasha. It's called Cujo Kids Zone. And he is really, really great with the science experiments. Again, I'm going to have to check him out. I'm not very creative. Listen, my science creativity extends as far as a bucket of water and playing will it sink or will it float with the children, right? So Trey Arts and Cujo Kids Zone, those are Cujo Kids Zone show. Thanks, Natasha. I hope you guys are making note of all of those things. These are the things that we have to do. And community, building community like this right here, all of you right now, us talking to each other. We need this. Chantal says, I'm in the beauty industry. I'd suggest having a pamper night with friends, hair treatments, facials, and wine. Right? Of course, being safe, of course, wear the masks. Pamper nights with the kids are fun too. Thank you. Those are some really good suggestions. We have got to build community. This is how we get through things. I talked about, months ago, I think, COVID-19 just started, about my experience in Jamaica living through a massive hurricane, and how we got through that in community. We got through that by talking to each other, by, we didn't have electricity for days and everything was like wiped out. Like I didn't go back to school for months. We didn't have electricity or phone service for months. And we managed. We put up outdoor fires and we cooked outside and we traded stories and we chit-chatted and we laughed and talked to each other, and we just fostered a sense of community. And we cannot, while we are not, yes, it was Hurricane Gilbert, and we can't each other's spaces all the time as much as we used to. We might not be able to talk at the photocopier or the water cooler at work or in the lunchroom. We still have to build community. We're not going to get through this without community. It is connecting with like-minded individuals, with forward-thinking women. Yes, Gilbert seems to have the biggest red pat. But it is through connecting with each other that we are going to get through this. So, keep tabs of the women who are on here. Follow each other. Connect with each other. Say, hey, how's it going? And if you're having a bad day, do not say you're fine. Please stop having to be strong all the time. Take off the cape and just be real for once. Just be human. Say, this is hard. I am having a hard time when my kids struggle. When they cry and they say it's not fair, I make it all better for them. And then I come downstairs and I'm all up in my feelings because I'm like, oh, this is hard. And then I connect with my people and we support each other. Nikki says, this is great. My husband and I are relatively new immigrants with family and friends not in Canada. And it has been a tad challenging. It's been challenging since we moved to a new city right before the pandemic hit. Yes, it is challenging. So I say, again, make make note of the people who are on here. Follow them. Let's follow each other. Let's create community. Let's ensure that those of us who feel alone don't have to feel alone. You know, trade jokes, trade memes. Talk about how your kids are doing. Talk about how you're managing with your families. Talk about how you're managing in the midst of loneliness. Talk about how you're managing with not having your family here. And let us support each other. Let us find community and let us find a way through. You know, as women, we are masters at just holding our heads down and putting one foot in front of the other. But sometimes it's okay to hold our heads up and look around and see how we're all doing. Kelly says, check out meetup.com, groups based on interest. You know, Kelly, I'm actually going to check, wondering about meetup.com, because the whole point of meetup.com was for people to actually meet up. And I was wondering how that's been going since COVID-19. Nikki says, all my Jamaican people link me. Others are welcome to. Yes, community is important. Sophia, we're just wrapping up. Lorraine says, how did we get the reputation of being all things to all people? Listen, how did we get the reputation of being all things to all people? When can we stop claiming it and just be human instead of superwoman? Listen, I want to go on the tallest mountain with a bullhorn and just proclaim that. We don't have to be all things to all people all the time. Sometimes there are seasons of that, in seasons of busyness, yes. But it doesn't have to be all the time. We have to be able to step back and say, I'm feeling it. We have to be able to step back and say, I'm not having a good day. Natasha says, I used to meet up while I was on leave. Listen, I'm going to tell you guys, on Sunday, I cooked all the things in my house. And on Monday, I cleaned all the things in my house. And by Monday evening, I was like, nobody don't ask me nothing, because I am tired. My brain's gone for a walk, and I don't go ask your father. Mommy is on hiatus. I just needed to pull back and recognize, like, I couldn't even think. Of course, afterwards I was like, Roxanne, you did too much. Yes, I did. But I had to just recognize that I was full. I was done. And then at the end of the night, after everyone went, I had the longest bath because I needed it. Self-care doesn't always have to be a bubble bath, but sometimes it is, right? So do what you need to do to take care of yourself. Stop being so strong all the time. Ask for help when you need it. Cry when you need to cry. Do what it is that you need to do. Life is short, and I want you guys to take care of yourselves and take care of each other. I always try to keep you guys on here only for half an hour, and look, it's almost 9 o'clock. I felt like this needed to be a little bit longer. Laura says, that was for me today. That was me today. I sent my kid to the refrigerator to find leftovers. I was not in the mood to be bothered. I hear you. And sometimes you have to say, sometimes we have to say, I'm done. Go fend for yourself, or go find your father, or, you know, a friend of mine on Fridays, she has, for dinner on Fridays, those are her yo-yo nights. And yo-yo stands for you're on your own for dinner, which means don't ask me nothing, right? I'm looking forward to when my children are old enough where I can say, it's a yo-yo night, right? But sometimes you just have to pull back. Sometimes you have to pull back and take care of yourself. And take care of yourself physically, but also take care of yourself spiritually. For those of you on here who are Christians, who pray, who sing, find a spiritual practice and dig in, right? We are not just flesh and bone, bricks and mortar, you know, it's not all just about that. Sometimes we have to dig deeper to inside. So find what you need to find and take care of yourself. All right, guys, I can't keep you past 9 o'clock. It's 8 minutes to, and I'm going to let you go. It was wonderful having this chat with you. I thought we should have this talk because so many people are telling me that they're just tired. They can't do this anymore. They're feeling like they can't do this anymore. They feel like they're full. They feel like they're on the brink of tears all the time, right? So I want you to take care of yourself. Sophia says, love that yo-yo night. Girl, we're over here trying to make strawberry lemonade from lemons. Yes. And tomorrow, love you. Have a good night. See you here next Wednesday for Afterthought, where we get into more mental health and real life. Cheers. Bye.